This survival trick gets stronger when the storm turns deadly. The worst storms don't reward speed. They reward stillness, patience, and one counterintuitive survival method that actually becomes more effective the harder the wind screams. Stick around, because this is one of those old-world secrets that flips modern survival logic on its head. And if this kind of hard-earned knowledge hits home, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next forgotten blueprint pulled from history's dust. When nature turns violent, movement becomes the enemy. Modern instinct says run, evacuate, stay mobile. History says otherwise. Across centuries of brutal weather, blizzards, cyclones, sandstorms, and mountain tempests, survivors learned a quiet truth. When storms escalate beyond control, movement drains life faster than exposure. Wind multiplies cold, rain steals heat, debris punishes anyone upright. The more violent the storm, the more it punishes those who stay visible. The solution wasn't speed, it was disappearing. The storm shelter that improves under pressure. The survival method is simple, ancient, and brutally effective. Get low, get enclosed. Let the storm work for you instead of against you. Not flimsy tents, not running vehicles, not exposed shelters. We're talking about subsurface or semi-buried sheltering. Snow caves, earth pits, dug-in wind shelters, and terrain-locked hideouts. Here's the wild part. As storms worsen, these shelters actually perform better. Why? Because storms pile insulation on top of you. How storms build your armor for free. In heavy snow, drifts form naturally against low shelters. In sandstorms, dunes stack against leeward walls. In hurricanes and cyclones, pressure drops stabilize enclosed air pockets. Wind loses power when it can't circulate. Cold loses its bite when trapped air stays still. Physics does the work. A properly placed low shelter can maintain interior temperatures 20 to 40 degrees warmer than outside conditions during severe storms. That's not theory. That's measured reality. The storm that would kill you in the open becomes the thing sealing your shelter tighter. The frontier rule that saved lives repeatedly. Old frontier journals mention a rule repeated across generations. When the storm screams, stop fighting it. People who tried to outrun blizzards froze within yards of safety. People who dug in survived days under snow with candles still burning. Snow caves, for example, sound terrifying to modern ears. But they are, honestly, thermal miracles. Snow is mostly air. Packed correctly, it blocks wind entirely and reflects body heat back inward. The colder the outside temperature drops, the more stable the interior becomes. That's not luck. That's survival geometry. Why does height kill and low ground save? Well, storm energy, it really lives in open space. Wind, you know, accelerates the higher it climbs. Debris can travel so much farther when it's unobstructed. But by dropping below wind level, you remove most of the storm's weaponry. This is exactly why seasoned survivors never build tall shelters in exposed areas. Low profiles, they survive longer. Earth-backed walls, they absorb force. Curved interiors, they prevent pressure spikes. Old storm shelters weren't deep because people were scared. They were deep because, quite simply, they worked. The deadly mistake modern preppers still make. Here's where modern survival culture, well, it really trips up. Too much gear, too much faith in mobility, and honestly, too little respect for shelter placement. A $3,000 tent won't beat a storm that a dirt wall can. A vehicle just won't outrun wind that doesn't care about roads. The ancient method doesn't rely on equipment. Instead, it relies on terrain intelligence. You know, wind always has a weak side, and storms, well, they always stack material somewhere. Smart survivors position themselves where the storm actually builds protection for them. The quiet science of the lee side. Every storm has a blind spot, right? It's the side opposite the wind. Old hunters, sailors, and mountain travellers, they just knew this instinctively. If you build or dig on the lee side, the storm ends up depositing snow, sand, or debris away from your entrance, while at the same time reinforcing your walls. It's why sometimes shelters look completely buried after storms, and why the people inside walked out alive. The storm didn't collapse the shelter. It armoured it. So why does this method beat high-tech solutions? Well, batteries die, engines stall, electronics, they fail in moisture and cold. But, you know, Earth doesn't short-circuit. Snow, it doesn't lose its insulation value. And wind just doesn't penetrate solid mass. This is why, you know, the oldest survival methods are still undefeated. The worse the storm becomes, the more modern solutions fail. And honestly, the more ancient ones shine. A rule worth remembering. When storms intensify, don't ask how to escape faster. Instead, ask how to disappear smarter. Shelter that actually improves with pressure is, well, the rarest kind of defence. And nature has been offering it for free since the very first storm ever rolled in. The storm will either strip you bare or bury you safely. Your choice, really, happens before the clouds even arrive. Final word from the old world. Every generation, it seems, relearns this lesson the hard way. Those who stop moving at the right moment live to tell the story. Those who don't become warnings. If this kind of forgotten survival wisdom matters to you, pass it on. Share it with someone who thinks storms can always be outrun. And subscribe to Prepper's Survival Blueprint, because honestly, the future belongs to those who remember the past before it's too late.